So that I kind of want to ask, what do you personally believe about ghosts? What do you think?
Well, this is my answer, and I'm not being a wriggly politician. I know lots of people who have told me that they've seen a ghost or see ghosts, whom I see absolutely no reason to disbelieve whatsoever. I mean, people I know have told me, and other people, and what they've told me, you've got the choice. You either believe what they say, or you disbelieve it. So it means you're called upon all of a sudden in normal intercourse with a person to go, no, lies, and then go back to normal because of the trigger of the word ghost. People don't blurt out about this stuff, I can tell you. And it's my impression that a high proportion of people have had an experience of one kind or another. And I think this will always be that way. One of the messy things about the scientific attitude to ghosts is that they don't believe a word of it, whatever you tell them, bang. And on top of it, most seriously, science says that in order to demonstrate that something's true, it has to be repeatable. That if you do an experiment to demonstrate some theorem, it has to be repeatable. And if somebody sees a ghost, how can you say that has to be repeatable when there's somebody there waiting for it? Because it might not work that way. So that their last ditch defense that for something to be credible, it has to be supported by a reiterated occurrence is unfair to demand of ghosts. So I don't know what to say about it. But for example, I never ask anybody, but when I've given lectures at conferences, at book literary festivals, for example, lots of people come up. So I have to tell you what happened to me, and there's no way that they were thinking, oh, I know, I'll tell him that I know, I've got a really good idea. I'll tell him this, see if he believes me. It was something. It always had this kind of introduction that, when I was 9 with my cousin once, or my wife. She once told me, although she regretted it afterwards, that when she was a girl, she'd, and all those sorts of things. Anyway, this lady, I was in the Lake District and gave a talk about the book and everything. And this lady afterwards came up to me and said, well, something odd happened to me. So I'm always very interested to hear what people have to say. And she says that when she was a teenager, she was in her bedroom on this second floor of their family house in the early evening doing homework or something in the summer. And she looked out the window and she saw her grandfather walking across the lawn. And she was poleaxed with surprise because her grandfather was dead. Now, the thing is, if you look out the window and see an old man walking across the lawn, you don't think that's an old man, it's somebody's grandfather. Perhaps it's my grandfather. Oh, yes, of course, it must have been my grandfather. She recognized her grandfather, right? So she ran downstairs into the kitchen where her mother was standing at the sink, slumped over on her hands, staring out the downstairs window, overlooking the same garden. And when her daughter came in, she turned around and said, "You're never going to believe what I saw my dad walking across the grass." Now, that's not evidence. It's got no validity to it. And it's hearsay because she told me. But I would go to the stake to defend the idea that she didn't make that up. Because when she told me, she obviously hasn't talked about it. The hairs on the back of my neck started to wiggle around, because it was a testimony of such simple clarity that you could not gainsay it automatically. Nobody could. I reckon if you put her in the Albert Hall on a stage, everybody in the audience would believe it. What she said, it's so compelling and it's so simple and it's almost like a scientific demonstration. And if it isn't a demonstration, it means that she is a very brilliant actress. And she's been waiting all of her life for a dupe like me to tell them, it's just not on. It's just
Yes,
not on.
and especially when you take that and you compound it by the millions of examples of that exact thing. I mean,
Well, exactly.
you can't just
That's a
throw it
very
out. I
neat
mean,
one. Yeah, it's a very nice one to have in the palm of your hand because it's so to the point, really.
mhm.